Good afternoon, everybody. Well, this is very literally the calm before the storm. It's all quiet down on the grid. The drivers are there, the mechanics are there. Those people who are privileged to be with them will soon be moved away. When I say it's the quiet before the storm, it could be in two ways. First of all, the storm of the race itself, and then the big question mark, is there going to be a storm weather-wise? Certainly not, we hope, like Friday, because that was quite incredible. The pits were awash with water. The tunnel, which joined the far side of the track to the paddock, was 4 feet deep in water. It took the combined efforts of all the fire brigades around here a long time to get the water clear. And we know that there's a possibility of rain this afternoon, and this place is very, very dangerous indeed when it's wet, because the course goes slashing its way through dense pine forest once they've turned out of the stadium section that you're looking at now. And those tall pines hold the water, the wind can't get through to clear the droplets away, and visibility is virtually nil. Martin, you've done it.
Yes, I have to say, Hockenheim in the rain, it's, you know how much I miss driving. It's one of the few days where I'd rather be up here cuddling you, Murray, than on the grid or in a Formula 1 car, but don't take that the wrong way. And I've spoken to 3 teams down on the grid, and anywhere between 20 past the hour and 22 is when they're expecting it to rain. So 20 past 2 here locally, up to 20 to 3. They're expecting it to be spitting with rain lightly at the beginning of the race, which it is indeed doing as we speak, but very, very lightly. We've got a track temperature of 21 degrees centigrade, so it just burns away quite quickly. And we think that Coulthard and Schumacher at least have added extra wing on the grid to allow for it. And I think the teams will also add a bit of fuel, Murray, to try to give themselves a bigger window of when they can take that pit stop to adjust it according to the rain, if indeed all these weather forecasts are right and it does rain later on. I'd imagine them coming in around lap 25-ish. The safety car leaves the grid now, which is all part of the procedure. That will go around to the back, and so we know that there are no hindrances around the track, and the procedure is well underway to get this German Grand Prix going, Murray.
It's quite ironic that the man who has been complaining so much about Michael Schumacher cutting across him at the start of races, and particularly the Austrian Grand Prix, David Coulthard, is in pole position. And next to him, or at least just a little bit further back on the front row, is the man he's been complaining about, Michael Schumacher. So again, we've got McLaren in pole position. It's the 10th time that David Coulthard will have started from pole position in his career. And just there you see Michael Schumacher, who's got more pole positions of the current drivers than anyone else, 27 of them. And Mika Häkkinen, the man who is third in the World Championship and who Michael Schumacher still insists on regarding as his chief rival for the World Championship, notwithstanding the fact that David Coulthard is 6 points behind him and Häkkinen there is 8 points behind him. Häkkinen in 4th position on the grid.
Now, I heard a Porsche driver saying from the Porsche Super Cup race earlier on today, who started on the right-hand side of the grid, Bernd Mailander, who's actually also the safety car driver in Formula 1, heard him saying it's incredibly slippery on the right-hand side. There's a lot of debris, a lot of tyre rubber. That is a part of the track that is simply not used here at Hockenheim. That's the left-hand side you're looking at from Fisichella's car on the second row. Michael Schumacher there is on the right-hand side of the grid, and he said there's so little grip over there. You just never come down there because it's such a fast turn 1 here shortly afterwards. So all the running done down the left-hand side, but that won't necessarily stop Michael Schumacher from getting away well.
Well, watch those lights. This is not the race start, of course. This is the formation lap.
Yeah, we've got a
car stalled on the grid there, right at the back. It looks like Jenson Button to me. It is indeed Jenson Button's Williams. He's stalled on the grid, and as everybody has passed him, that means to say that he will have to join from the back. He may even have to start from the pit lane if they don't get the car going quickly.
Yeah, sort of thing I'd have expected Jenson to do early on, but not this far into the season. But it may not have been his fault. Sometimes the clutch clearance is so tiny on these cars and if it drags a little bit, you pop it into first gear and it just kills the engine. There's a tiny flywheel on these Formula 1 engines that rev to the best part of 18,000 RPM, and they're so easy to stall. But Button away, as you say, Murray, he can catch the field up very easily. That's no problem, as long as he knows the rule book that he must stay at the back, and I'm sure the Williams team will be reminding him of that.
Yeah, now there's two things to watch in this race in particular. There's the race at the front, of course, Coulthard, Schumacher, Mika Häkkinen, and hopefully Fisichella up there in the Benetton. There he is. And I remind you that starting from 17th position is Heinz-Harald Frentzen, who was on the front row of the grid in the Jordan last year and finished third in the race. And in 18th position is the Ferrari of Rubens Barrichello. And they're going to be scything their way through the field, probably on a very light fuel load.
Yes, I think Fisichella there in third place on the grid could be a thorn into the side of Häkkinen. Häkkinen, who also starts from the right-hand side, the supposedly slippery side, really must leapfrog Fisichella early on. And Mika was talking to me just 45 minutes ago saying, what do you think is going to happen? You know, how do you think those guys are going to get away on the left-hand side of the grid? So I think it's quite a concern for Mika that if he gets tucked up behind the Benetton, then Coulthard and Michael Schumacher can scamper off into the distance.
And the sun is well and truly out now. The track temperature has risen just a little bit, so that's a good sign. Let's hope it's a dry race. It makes so much difference to everybody, and particularly here at Hockenheim.
Yes, it summed up the whole weekend when, with the umbrellas on the grid, one moment they were covering the drivers from spitting rain, and then it was beating down sunshine that the umbrellas were for.
So we were with Fisichella there on car camera. Be nice if we could have a ride with Frentzen or Barrichello, particularly Barrichello, because he's got an on-car camera, and it'll be interesting to see him fighting his way through the field. So they line up now in the usual 11 rows, two cars. The left-hand side of the grid is the pole position, and there is the man in pole position for this 45-lap race, David Coulthard, the Ferrari pit, the garage, and they're all getting into line now.
Yes, I noticed Coulthard hasn't pointed his car towards the Ferrari at all. He's expecting, I would imagine, to stay down the left-hand side of the track and not have to go over and cover his line against Michael Schumacher. It's crucial how they all get away.
3 lights, 4 lights, 5 lights, and in Germany it is go! Barrichello, that must be Rubens Barrichello, or it's Schumacher! It's Schumacher! Incredible! And Fisichella! They started third and second on the grid, and Michael Schumacher is out of the race before it's hardly begun, and the McLarens are already first and second, with the Frentzen and with the Jordan of Jarno Trulli up in third position. An incredible development, and Michael Schumacher is again going to score no World Championship points.
And it's such a long lap here, the second longest lap of the year. They'll easily be able to clear those cars before the pack gets around for the first complete flying lap of the day. Those cars will be cleared out of the way. Disaster for Michael Schumacher.
Yeah, but Rubens Barrichello is already slashing his way through the field, and Fisichella and Schumacher talk to each other as we look down on this 200-mile-an-hour plus straight. Rubens Barrichello, there he is. You just saw him coming towards us in the Ferrari. It's McLaren leading, McLaren in second place, the Jordan in third position, and the lead driver is Mika Häkkinen with David Coulthard tucked under his gearbox, and De La Rosa in the Arrows, who's been going so well, is in fourth position, and the two Jaguars of Eddie Irvine and Johnny Herbert are up there, both of them in the points, 5th and 6th at the moment.
Yes, unless Herbert's past Villeneuve. Herbert's 7th according to the screens, but Häkkinen got a flying start. Michael got away well too, but seemed to stutter. Yellow flags are out on the start-finish line here, just to tell the driver, wave yellows to tell the drivers they're recovering those cars. No sign of a safety car, no sign of a red flag, and Michael Schumacher is out of the race for sure.
And Barrichello has already gained 8 places. He's up from 18th on the grid to 10th. 2 of those. There he is, pulling out, you see, and passing Zonta in the BAR, coming up behind Jacques Villeneuve in the other BAR. For Ferrari now, and for Italy and for Brazil, it's all down to Rubens Barrichello.
I think I just saw Johnny Herbert passing Irvine too. The Jaguars are running Linus Stern in 5th and 6th. They did clear Villeneuve, as has Verstappen now, who's 8th. But yes, Johnny Herbert now the leading Jaguar in 5th place.
But look, you see that. Look at the arrows there surging through, and Jos Verstappen, who started well down through the field, is up into 7th position. These arrows are the revelation of this meeting, because Pedro de la Rosa
Here he goes again. Verstappen really in the slipstream there of Irvine. He now has track position. Surely he'll outbrake Irvine. He's passed him already. Verstappen up into 6th.
Yeah, and I reckon Jos Verstappen may be on a 2-stop strategy. This arrows is incredibly quick. It's very, very slippery indeed. The aerodynamics are superb, and the Supertech engine is good. Here's a replay of the start.
Now here we go. Coulthard away moderately well. Schumacher I saw out of the window getting away well, then stuttered, and Hakkinen just drove right through the middle. Now look, Schumacher came across and really blocked Fisichella out. Schuey did not realise Fisichella was there, did not give him any space, and I'm afraid, Michael, you cannot blame that on Fisichella. Look, he's moved across onto his line and then braked, so Fisichella quite late into the corner, but that was at least 50-50. Michael gave him no space.
Yeah, but a lot of the cynics will be saying that's Michael Schumacher's come up, and he's had payback time for the things they've been blaming him for in the recent past. But meantime, it's looking great for McLaren, 1st and 2nd. Trulli is 3rd, De La Rosa is 4th, and look at Barrichello. Barrichello out past Eddie Irvine, who is in 7th position, and there we're riding with Barrichello now as Irvine fights back.
Well, that was astonishing. Irvine had more straight line speed, now turns in on Barrichello, which he was entitled to do. But Barrichello got up alongside, and when the drag really cuts in, well over 200 miles an hour, Irvine started pulling ahead.
That Ford engine, the Cosworth engine, has got massive grunt. It's an improved version with more power, and it's certainly showing up here. It looks as though they've got the setup right for the two Jaguars, as Rubens Barrichello, that we're riding with now, chases Eddie Irvine's green Jaguar, which is behind Jos Verstappen, and Johnny Herbert is up into 5th place. So Hakkinen, Coulthard, then Trulli, behind him De La Rosa. There is Johnny Herbert, followed by Verstappen and Eddie Irvine. Well, the good news so far for Britain is that the Jaguars are well up.
Yes, and now Barrichello's got a much better run on Irvine earlier on in the straight. Now let's see the drag cut in. Can Barrichello make it stick this time? Yes, he's got the line up the inside. Irvine just falling back down the field at this stage.
And that's Eddie Irvine, of course, who won this race brilliantly for Ferrari last year, thanks to the support of his teammate Mika Salo, who was replacing Michael Schumacher after the German had broken his leg in Britain. Coming through now to complete lap 3. Mika Hakkinen leads David Coulthard. The gap between Coulthard and Trulli is 1.3 seconds. But again, as in Austria, Pedro de la Rosa, who was superb in qualifying, is magnificent here. Look at the orange arrows. There's a big gap between it and the green Jaguar of the red-helmeted Johnny Herbert, who has got Verstappen behind him, and Verstappen has got Barrichello ready to pull out and in the Ferrari and try to get up into the top 6. If in the red Ferrari Barrichello can get past the orange arrows there of Jos Verstappen, the Dutchman, who was not in very good odour this morning because in the warm-up he drove into Jacques Villeneuve's BAR.
Yeah, very silly accident on the outlap first thing this morning, and damaged both the arrows and Villeneuve's BAR quite extensively, and he had to go and apologise, that's for sure. And look, Verstappen again struggling to slow that arrows down. I think they've got tremendous straight line speed, but struggling a little bit into the braking area, and Barrichello lines up his next victim, but this one's got more straight line speed than the Jaguar he's already overtaken of Irvine.
Yeah, and we've learned here that next year Arrows are going to have the Peugeot engine exclusively, and that will do them no harm whatsoever. So they're in great shape, but McLaren are in even better shape because they're on a potential 16 World Championship points at the present moment, with Mika Hakkinen bidding for 10 of them to win the race. But we're now on lap 4. It's a 45-lap race, so we've gone about 1/10th distance, 1/11th distance.
Coulthard on a very fast lap at the moment, edging up a couple of tenths in each section on Mika Hakkinen. Interesting problem here for the McLaren bosses. drivers, Murray. They've got 2 drivers that can take the championship, as they had 10 years ago with Senna and Prost. But now, with Schumacher out of the race once again, what are McLaren going to do about their front 2, who are now just 0.6 of a second apart, and truly is hanging on remarkably well there in the Jordan, as is De La Rosa in the arrows behind.
I think Pedro De La Rosa is absolutely magnificent, the young Spaniard. Well, he's 29 years old, but this is only his 26th Grand Prix, and he's in a car which up to now has not been expected to be at the front of a Grand Prix as it is. Now watch Schumacher on the left of this replay. You see there, Häkkinen comes straight between him and Fisichella. Schumacher moves across, hits Fisichella. The Italian goes onto the gravel, into the tyre wall. We're with Fisichella now.
And watch this, enjoy your first Formula 1 accident fully on board as we stay with this camera shot all the way. Here comes the barrier. Look, there's nothing you can do. You're jumping on the brakes, bang! And the tyres and conveyor belt come into the cockpit. Once again we sit. Now watch Häkkinen from 4th place hook it up and just drive beautifully through the middle as Coulthard defends his line, and Schumacher, watching Coulthard, moves across the track and unaware that Fisichella is there. I mean, he should have allowed for that. I really can't think Michael has too much to gripe about as the Ferrari team put their head in their hands.
Yes.
I don't think they can gripe too much about Fisichella there.
That's Willy Weber with his head in his hands, the man who's guided the career of Michael Schumacher. He's the only team manager to have his own Learjet. Plenty of the drivers do, but Schumacher is so wealthy that even on 20% of his income, Weber can run a Learjet. Now look at this.
This will be Barrichello, I assume, overtaking Verstappen, and he makes it stick into the second chicane. So Barrichello now is up to 6th place.
From 18th, he's made 12 places on this, the 6th lap. James Allen?
Murray, you saw the Ferrari mechanics there with their heads in their hands, completely contrasting reaction of McLaren. They feel that's payback time for what Schumacher did to Coulthard and Häkkinen at the start in France. They've had this terrible farrago between them, and Coulthard taught Schumacher a lesson in the toughest possible terms. They're absolutely ecstatic down here.
Well, it's Herbert wide, and he's now up into 4th place, and Herbert has got De La Rosa behind him in 6th position. Nigel Stepney on the right. Now, there go Herbert, and leading them both is Barrichello, so he's up into 4th and attacking again. De La Rosa having a go at Herbert.
That's Verstappen having a go at Herbert, and Johnny was on the defensive. I think Barrichello surprised him up the inside into the first chicane. Textbook manoeuvre there from Rubens Barrichello. Brilliant driving at the moment, and Johnny then on the defensive. It gave Verstappen a run at him. Johnny managed to fend that one off, and look how quick, and Verstappen won't get through there now, but look how quick Barrichello is moving away from them.
Yeah, this is an example of how they slow each other up, because Barrichello was 1.2 seconds slower than Häkkinen and Coulthard with a clear track in front of them, and he is now in that position. There he is, but with Johnny Herbert, Häkkinen leading, Coulthard second, Jarno Trulli still in the Jordan, 2.4 seconds behind David Coulthard, who is 1 second behind Mika Häkkinen. This race has got a long way to go yet. We're on lap 7.
I think there could be a lot of action yet. I saw when we were on board with Barrichello, they were moving the film protecting his camera shot, and it was raining slightly. Remember, it could well still rain in the next half an hour in this race, and I think we could see quite a lottery at that point as to who can stay on the track and if and when they come in. And this is another shot then of Barrichello passing Johnny Herbert into the first chicane. Johnny beginning to turn in and had to turn back out again. Great move there from Rubens.
And Johnny Herbert is still in the points in 6th position. So let's have a quick look at the top 10. It's the 2 McLarens, Häkkinen and Coulthard. Then Jarno Trulli's yellow Jordan. Look for it. It's getting further and further back. There it is in the distance. De La Rosa in the arrows is 4th, and Barrichello is 5th in the Ferrari. 6th is Johnny Herbert, and 7th is Jos Verstappen. Both the arrows in the top 7. Eddie Irvine 8th, Jacques Villeneuve is 9th, and his teammate Ricardo Zonta is 10th. Remember what Craig Pollock was saying about the BARs, they're both in the top 10.
Yes, Barrichello, now he's got some clear air. It'll be interesting to see his lap times, Murray. Remember, he's really only just 11.2 seconds behind Häkkinen, who's leading the race. So Barrichello, if he's got a strong pace, can still come through and do some damage for Ferrari this afternoon.
Yeah, he's closed the the gap from 1.2 seconds a lap longer to 0.6 of a second longer. And look at the way he's stretching away now from the powerful Jaguar of Johnny Herbert. There is Jos Verstappen, the Dutchman, behind him. And Tom Walkinshaw will be really delighted at the way his team is going here at Hockenheim.
Johnny sort of launches his Jaguar into the corners, very aggressive turn into almost all the corners around the racetrack. Quite strange, in fact, but it seems to be working for him up there in 6th place.
Now they come out of the stadium. They're turning into the long straight now, which is the start and finish straight, into turn 1. And then the rest of the course is split up before they get to the stadium into 4 legs, separated by chicanes. And in each of those legs, they're on full throttle for at least 14 seconds.
And there's the answer. Look, Barrichello, fastest lap on a 45.3, and the gap now down to 11.1 seconds to Hakkinen. So Barrichello has a very fast Ferrari, but how much fuel does he have on board?
Yeah, exactly. 4th in the World Championship at the moment, behind Mika Hakkinen, Coulthard and Championship leader Michael Schumacher, but I don't think he's going to be leading at the end of this race as we go to a break. Replay of Michael Schumacher out of the car and slow motion of race leader Mika Hakkinen. But the good news for Ferrari aficionados after that bitter blow with Michael Schumacher retiring is that the fastest man on the track now, as we look at this bit of debris at the exit to the Ost curve, is Rubens Barrichello in the Ferrari.
Yes, but a bit of debris this morning that Verstappen ran over simply ripped his front tyres apart at high speed, his right front. And a little bit of debris around here. The tyres are really under pressure. Remember, Hakkinen flew off the road here whilst leading last year with tyre delamination. It's very critical they clear any debris away.
Now, looking at these two, Martin, is very interesting because David Coulthard is sitting comfortably behind Mika Hakkinen. Their lap times are virtually identical. There is Jarno Trulli, Pedro de la Rosa in the arrows, and catching him hand over fist, Rubens Barrichello. A long gap before Johnny Herbert in the Jaguar now, who's got Jos Verstappen tucked up behind him. Eddie Irvine then, and behind Irvine is Heinz-Harald Frentzen. Now, you remember I said earlier on, watch Frentzen. He's come up from 17th on the grid to 9th in the race. He's in amongst the traffic. If he can get past Eddie Irvine, and Frentzen, he's going to do it. He pulls out from behind Irvine, who battles alongside him, but Frentzen has got the inside of the curve, and he should get through. Irvine will have to give way, and he has done so, and Heinz-Harald Frentzen moves up into 8th position. So the two Jordans, Frentzen is in 8th position, his teammate Jarno Trulli is 3rd. Well, Barrichello is showing what he's made of as we join him now, and the car that you can see ahead just in the distance is Pedro de la Rosa's arrows. Lap 9, and this is a replay of Heinz-Harald Frentzen surging up from 17th on the grid into the position he's in now, 8th position. And Jos Verstappen has got the Jordan right behind him now. The men to watch at the moment are Barrichello, who is the fastest man on the track, 5th and catching De La Rosa. There is the second orange arrows, but Verstappen in 7th place with Frentzen behind him.
Yes, Frentzen, I see, missed a chicane at some earlier on at 14.06 earlier on the race. If they're going to penalise him, they'll have to penalise him very soon. He looks like he's got away with that at the moment. He's flying through the field. Verstappen in the arrows has lost a major part of his engine cover, which will be affecting the aerodynamics, and has left debris on the track. Now, it was Verstappen himself that ran over a piece of debris this morning going down towards turn 1 as Frentzen lines himself up and surely can brake late enough to take the line down into the first chicane. Yes, he can. and it was Verstappen who touched a little piece of debris this morning, and his front tyre exploded immediately. It's highly critical round here. Remember that it was Hakkinen who went out of the race last year with a delaminated tyre. The tyres are under severe pressure, and Verstappen's got a problem with that engine cover missing, and now Frentzen is up into 7th place. And here we see from another angle Frentzen getting the track position, getting the line, and not snatching his brakes, taking a good clean run.
Well, Heinz-Harald Frentzen, a German in Germany at Hockenheim, is now in 7th position. His next target is the man in the red helmet and the green Jaguar, Johnny Herbert, who has announced that he's leaving Formula One at the end of this year and going to race in champ cars in America. Is he going to be able to retain his 6th place? I don't think so much longer.
Incredible lineup of cars, isn't it? Look, from Herbert through to all the way through there to Ralph. In fact, Jenson Button in 19th, so you've got from 6th to 19th pretty much all line astern.
Yeah, so who are they? Herbert 6th, there he is. There is Frentzen behind him in 7th. Then it is Eddie Irvine in the Jaguar. Villeneuve and Zonta virtually together. And here is Rubens Barrichello in the Ferrari, who's come up from that 18th position. We're riding with him now as he turns out of turn 1, going at 200 miles an hour up to the Clark curve. The right, left, right chicane, closing on Pedro de la Rosa's arrows. Hand over fist. This is the V10 Ferrari engine versus the Supertech engine V10 in the Arrows. The Arrows is incredibly quick. At race after race this year on the section times, the Arrows has been the fastest car. But Barrichello now has really got his dander up. He's fought his way through magnificently, and he's coming now into the Ost curve, right at the top of this boomerang-shaped circuit. Through the right, the left, the right again. They exited at about 130 miles an hour and build up to nearly 220 miles an hour as they come down to the centre curve, and there goes Heinz-Harald Frentzen past Johnny Herbert. He's in the points. Frentzen is in the points. His teammate Trulli is in 3rd position. The top 6 from Frentzen upwards are Frentzen 6th, Barrichello and De La Rosa 5th and 4th. Trulli is 3rd. David Coulthard and Hakkinen are still only 1.6 seconds away from each other and nearly 8 seconds ahead of 3rd placed Jarno Trulli. But this race is by no means finished. What strategies are they following? Watch Barrichello. This is the stadium section. They're coming up now to turn 14, the right-hander. They take that at 90 miles an hour, exit at about 90 miles an hour where they are now, and then accelerate up to nearly 185 miles an hour. There is Trulli, 3rd. Watch Barrichello. So it is the Brazilian against the Spaniard. And Pedro de la Rosa has covered himself in glory in the last couple of races. He's doing so again.
Yes, and look, Barrichello's got a sniff of a slipstream, but we know just how fast that Arrows is in a straight line. But Barrichello, we know, is excellent on the brakes into turn 1, but he can't have a go from there. He'll simply slam into the side of the Arrows. But can he get some traction out now? And, well, that Arrows is really handling well, isn't it? He really hasn't got... Barrichello doesn't have much an advantage over it, but he has clearly got the best braking car on the racetrack at the moment. We'll see how good it is when he gets anywhere near the McLaren.
There he goes.
Look, he's showing it well there, isn't he? Easily through, and that is so bumpy. It doesn't show from anywhere, from a camera angle, but it's so bumpy down there into 2. And I can't, it looks so easy, and I can't tell you just how hard it is at 210, 215 miles an hour to pick a braking point right alongside another driver trying to do exactly the same thing at the same time.
You are watching a truly, truly great drive by Rubens Barrichello. I say again, he started 18th. He's now in 4th position, and the yellow car is that of Jarno Trulli as we rejoin on a replay. Rubens Barrichello diving up the inside of Pedro de la Rosa, making it look so easy. The Spaniard has to give him room, and Rubens Barrichello maintains his line perfectly. The Ferrari mechanics not looking over impressed, but they jolly well should be. And look at this battle behind them. It's the 2 Jaguars, and Eddie Irvine now is attacking Johnny Herbert as Zonta, Wurz, Deniz. And behind him, the 2 Prosts of Alesi and Heidfeld. Nick Heidfeld, by the way, is in 14th position.
Man on the move, Heinz-Harald Frentzen in 6th place, just down a 1:44.9 easily the fastest lap of the race. So it's Frentzen now with the clear air in front of him. Can he catch Pedro de la Rosa, and how quickly? So Frentzen and Barrichello started 17th and 18th, now up to 4th and 6th and flying.
Yeah, and he's lapping 2 seconds faster than de la Rosa. He's 10 seconds behind him, so in about 5 laps time, Frentzen, if he keeps going the way he is now, will be right up with the 5th placed arrows as you look at the German now. 1:44.9, the fastest lap of the race. The fastest lap last year was 1:45.2, so Frentzen is faster this year than David Coulthard, who made the fastest and record lap at Hockenheim, was last year. You were looking at the new lap record holder. Here is the race leader, Mika Häkkinen, McLaren, David Coulthard, McLaren, still just over a second between them on this, the 13th lap, and out goes Johnny Herbert in the Jaguar. Well, Johnny's bad luck seems to stick with him, whatever circuit he is at and whatever country he is in, and the jinx has struck again. He is out of the race, and that means to say up into 8th place goes Eddie Irvine, to 9th place goes Jacques Villeneuve, to 10th place goes Ralf Schumacher in the Williams. His teammate Jenson Button is down in 19th position, having a tremendous battle with Jean Alesi's Prost and Marc Gené's Minardi.
That's one of those moody slow-mo replays they like to show here. That was truly bouncing across the curbs. I don't know whether you noticed his rear wheels were completely off the ground. Frentzen is on another flying lap, and a 44.7 this time around. So Frentzen is catching De La Rosa in front of him at 1.5 seconds per lap, and he's 8.4 seconds back. De La Rosa 5th, Frentzen 6th, and there's currently just 1.2 seconds, as you can see, between Häkkinen and Coulthard.
You know, the car language of those two, Häkkinen and Coulthard, makes it look very easy indeed. What's going through David Coulthard's mind,
What's going through his mind is, why can't I get the power on out of the chicanes? I've watched him on several chicanes now through the race, and he just can't seem to apply the power. And here's Trulli, and Barrichello with Trulli already, look, just a few metres behind him. Barrichello absolutely flying. We're on the 14th lap of the race, and he's really in good shape in the next few chicanes to, I think, pass Trulli.
Yeah, if he gets past Trulli, he's then going to have a real battle on his hands. He's up from 18th to 3rd soon if he gets past Trulli, but he's actually lapping slower at the present moment than the two race leaders, Häkkinen and Coulthard, who are some 10 seconds ahead of him. And Barrichello's right up behind the gearbox of Trulli, just waiting in the moment to bob out from behind it as they turn into the stadium section. That is turn 11 at this 15 corner circuit. They're at turn 12 now, accelerating up to 90 miles an hour from 60 on the apex of the previous corner, and Jarno Trulli can see that Scarlet Ferrari big in his mirrors.
Yes, it's awful when you've got a car behind you is fast and he's bearing down on you. Trulli's getting a little bit untidy in his defence and running a bit wide. I think Barrichello won't spend too long behind Trulli before he finds a way through. He'll get a better drive out of a chicane or a corner, and then for sure he can nail Trulli on the brakes. It may even be as soon as down to the first chicane. Trulli not defending his line yet. Now Barrichello makes the move, the perfect slipstream, and Barrichello will go through under braking, surely, and he does.
Remember what I said about a great drive? There is confirmation and underlining of it. But De La Rosa and Verstappen are both catching Trulli as well. Trulli is not going as quickly as he has done in the past, because you can see De La Rosa in the orange arrows is getting closer to the yellow Jordan in the background. But now Barrichello up into a magnificent 3rd position, just the two McLarens ahead of him, but they're 12 seconds ahead.
Yes, it's 13.9 seconds last time around, and I think Barrichello's done a sterling job to get from 18th to 3rd and only lose 13.9 seconds to the leader, so the race is set. James, what can you tell us?
Well, Martin, I said at the top of the show I thought that the Frentzen and Barrichello had nothing to lose really today by doing a two-stopper. It's certainly spectacular track action. The reason they're able to do this is because the two-stop fuel load is 40 kilos lighter. That's about 1.2 seconds a lap. They should be faster than these heavy cars carrying a full one-stop fuel load. So I think we're going to, unfortunately, of course, they've got to stop twice, so we're going to see plenty of this kind of action throughout this race.
Well, I'll tell you this, Eddie Jordan must be keeping his fingers crossed, because his team, which was 3rd in the Constructors' Championship, championship last year and had that as a target for this year, to be third in that championship behind McLaren and Ferrari, has slipped down to sixth this year. They've had a rotten year, but Trulli and Frentzen are both in the points, with Jarno Trulli on a potential 3 points, Heinz-Harald Frentzen on 1 point, and if they can keep this up, they're going to move up the championship, possibly even to third position, with ahead of Williams, as you see a replay of Barrichello moving ahead of the young Italian Jarno Trulli, who's got so much potential and is realising it at Jordan. Lap 16, Häkkinen and Coulthard still separated by just over a second. 14 seconds ahead of Rubens Barrichello, who is 2 seconds now ahead of Jarno Trulli, who is 1.4 seconds ahead of De La Rosa and 4 seconds ahead of Frentzen, and Frentzen and De La Rosa are catching Jarno Trulli. Here are the leaders.
Coulthard slipped back slightly now, 1.5 seconds the gap, and you can see it there for yourself. Häkkinen's car working beautifully, not having to fight it at all. Whether Coulthard's regretting putting a little bit more wing on the start line, we'll have to wait and see. If it does rain before 22, as they predicted, then he could be very grateful of it in a few laps' time. Right now, it's sunny as anything, but looking over to the left, there's a pretty big black cloud, Murray. Whether it finds its way over to us or not, we'll have to wait and see.
Well, a lot of very unhappy Germans here, with Michael Schumacher out of the race right at the very beginning, but a lot of other very happy Germans, because it's a Mercedes-Benz engine that is powering the McLaren of Mika Häkkinen and David Coulthard, all the top brass from Mercedes-Benz, and a lot of people from the factory, and of course thousands of spectators are rooting for them.
Yes, hearing from the people sitting in our studio, apparently there are people leaving the circuit already. Some Schumacher fans leaving the racetrack.
Well, you can hear the rockets in the background. They're usually fired to signify some sort of celebration here at Hockenheim. I don't know what they're celebrating at the moment from their point of view, except, of course, the way Mercedes are going. And now Barrichello has really pulled the bung out. He's just made the fastest lap of the race, 1 minute 44.6. which is 0.6 of a second faster than the previous lap record, and he's carving the gap down between himself and Häkkinen and Coulthard as we join him here in the Ferrari. Now he's doing very nearly over 200 miles an hour at this point, as he rips a visor off rips a tear off from the visor of his helmet, turns into the chicane, right, left, right. Now look back. There is Barrichello. That is the visual gap between the flying Ferrari and the two McLaren Mercedes up ahead. And Rubens Barrichello, with 3 second places behind him already this year, is that much ahead of Trulli, who is that much ahead of De La Rosa, who has got Frentzen right behind him.
Ferrari mechanics coming out into the pit lane, so the Barrichello is extremely light. So Ferrari mechanics out, and Barrichello, it must be for Barrichello. Of course, Schumacher is buried in the wall. They've cleared his car away from turn 1, and Barrichello will be in at the end of this lap. So his pace, his very strong pace, really wasn't strong enough considering he's coming in at lap 17. I would have thought the McLarens will go at least another 7 to 10 laps yet. So that's how much more fuel they're carrying, enough for a quarter of the distance of this race. Now you see it for yourself. So Barrichello having to give up that third place. They ran him light. I suspect they might be doing the same with Frentzen to enable him to get through the traffic earlier on and then resume his race. Wherever he comes out, he's like the people around him, he's got to stop one more time.
Yeah, and of course that has let Jarno Trulli through in the Jordan, and Barrichello has got it all to do again. We'll wait for confirmation when we see them on the circuit, but Rubens Barrichello now, having stopped on lap 18, as you look at Eddie Irvine, and now the arrows and the race order at the present moment on lap 18 out of 45 with a long way to go. Mika Häkkinen and David Coulthard first and second, separated by 2 seconds, so Coulthard is dropping back. Jarno Trulli goes up into third position, and it's time for us to go to a break. So you're looking at Frentzen now, and now Barrichello back after his stop, and he is down in 6th position as a result of that stop, with Trulli back into 3rd place. There is De La Rosa 4th. Frentzen tucked up under the wing of the Arrows is in 5th position, and the Ferrari, which has rejoined the track, is in 6th place. Now behind them it's Verstappen in the Arrows, both the Arrows in the top 7. This is their best race yet, and in 8th place it's Eddie Irvine, Jaguar. 9th is Jacques Villeneuve ahead of Ralf Schumacher. 10th position in the Williams, and the Jordan mechanics are out ready to bring in either Jarno Trulli or Heinz-Harald Frentzen. And here is the answer. It is Heinz-Harald Frentzen coming in from 5th position, and so that will let Rubens Barrichello back into that place. It's going to be terrifically exciting from now on, because Barrichello's had his stop, Frentzen will have had his stop, and out goes the German. 8.6 seconds. Look back down the track. Who is that coming down towards us and turning in to turn 1? And it is Jos Verstappen, and he's tucked up behind Harald Frentzen. Now if he can keep the motion on, he might just get through. And behind them is Eddie Irvine, 8th, Jacques Villeneuve in 9th position. Verstappen and Frentzen battling for position on the track. Frentzen's got the inside of the turn, so he forces Verstappen to yield and retains his place. And look at Eddie Irvine, he is closing up on the Dutchman. Very little in it between Eddie Irvine in 8th position and Jos Verstappen ahead of him. Lap 20 out of 45, and Jarno Trulli, there he is, the Italian in the Jordan, is back in 3rd position as a result of the stop of Rubens Barrichello, who is in 6th place. And sandwiched between Trulli and Barrichello are Pedro de la Rosa in the Arrows. There he is, and behind de la Rosa is Heinz-Harald Frentzen.
Yes, and while you're away, Frentzen made his expected pit stop because of his lower fuel load at the beginning of the race. Remember, he started 17th, came through the field, had to pit at the end of lap 19, came out of the pits and just managed to stay ahead of Verstappen. So Frentzen rejoins in 6th after a stop, and Barrichello rejoins in 5th after his stop. So now everybody is on a level playing field. They've all got to stop one more time this afternoon.
Well, coming up for half distance, this is a magnificent tour de force demonstration by the two McLarens. They finished 1st and 2nd in France with Coulthard ahead of Hakkinen. They finished 1st and 2nd in Austria with Hakkinen in front of Coulthard. That was their 4th, 1st and 2nd of the season in 10 races. It looks as though this is going to be their 5th in 11 races. If it is, it will give them 16 World Championship points, and certainly give them their revenge over Ferrari for having lost 10 World Championship points in the Constructors' contest as a result of the problem they had with the label that you saw Martin talking about earlier on in Austria.
Yes, and Coulthard's going to be ruining that difficult start as a BAR passes a Benetton down there, which must be, let's see.
Yeah, I'm just trying to work it out. Well, there's Verstappen, there's Irvine behind him, there is Jacques Villeneuve, that is Ralf Schumacher, and look at this lot with Alexander Wurz behind Zonta and Salo behind them, and Salo is in 13th place in the Sauber. Behind him is Deniz in the Sauber, and behind Deniz is Heidfeld. So the McLarens are streaking away, but look how close it is behind them. This is almost go-kart racing that they're so close.
Yeah, Jenson Button is right at the back of this queue, having a terrible afternoon. because he stalled on the line, started last. He's last but one at the moment and barely able to keep the pace up at the back. Mazzacani's chasing him, and I see from the computer he's missed a chicane at some point without penalty, thankfully, and Barrichello has just done a new fastest lap of the race,
which has taken him to within 8 seconds of Pedro de la Rosa. He's a massive 33 seconds behind Mika Häkkinen and David Coulthard, but remember, he has made his stop and they have not. So when they come in and stop and refuel and take on 4 new tyres and wheels, it's going to be pretty close. Häkkinen leads, Coulthard second, Trulli third, De La Rosa fourth, and Rubens Barrichello in 5th place, who was third, is closing up with news from James Allen.
Well, Murray, I've just been working it all out now with the fuel loads here. Rubens Barrichello took on 50 kilos of fuel. I reckon he'll stop again about lap 33 for his second stop. Frentzen about lap 34. In the meantime, we expect the 2 McLarens and Trulli to stop around about lap 27 to 30. So don't go anywhere, folks, because this next phase is going to be absolutely fascinating. It's clearly a McLaren race, barring any mechanical misfortunes. The key question now is which McLaren?
Exactly. Is it going to be David Coulthard, who is ahead of Mika Häkkinen, who is the double world champion from 1999 and 98? There are no team orders in the McLaren team, because the team's attitude is let the best man win until one of them is so far ahead of the other that the other cannot possibly regain a position, and then the chap who is leading is favoured. But that's a long way off yet, as we look at Zonta in 11th place. Wurz behind him in the blue Benetton. And behind Benetton, behind Wurz, is Mika Salo in the stadium.
Sure, I just saw a big flash of lightning over those trees to the left there out of the commentary box, Murray. I'm sure I saw. We've had a lot of lightning through the last 3 days, but some black storm clouds out there. Whether they come this way or not, as you can see, the sun is still shining as the Sauber mechanics are preparing. Ralf Schumacher's in the pits too, in at the end of lap 21.
From 10th place.
Not a great afternoon for the Williams BMW team.
No, it's the BMW engine's first Grand Prix appearance at Hockenheim for a very, very long time. The last time they were there was with the Brabham of Nelson Piquet in the turbo days, and they're getting back into Grand Prix racing, and this is one of the circuits which is toughest of all on engines. They're on full throttle for over 60 seconds in the lap.
Those mechanics are brave in the pit lane, no doubt about it. A car coming towards them at 120 kilometres per hour, 67 miles an hour. Imagine just sitting down there with an air gun in your hand and something's coming towards you the best part of 70 miles an hour. So Häkkinen leads by 1.7 seconds. Trulli a further 22.9 seconds behind. De La Rosa fourth, Barrichello fifth. Frentzen rounds out the top 6, currently 47 seconds behind the leader as Villeneuve defends his position there against Eddie Irvine. He's passed him somewhere in this lap. We're going to take a short break.
Lap 23, Eddie Irvine, last year's winner in a Ferrari, this year in a Jaguar, having a terrific battle with Jacques Villeneuve in the BAR. And the Canadian, his best appearance here was third in 1998. And as a result of only starting down in about 9th position on the grid, he's still round about there now in this tremendous battle behind the leaders. It's nip and tuck and thrust and cut all the way. And coming towards us now, you can see the 2 totally dominant McLarens, Mika Häkkinen, David Coulthard, and if the McLaren mechanics make a mistake when either of them come in for their stop, which we're expecting to be probably in about 6 laps time, it could change things very dramatically at the head of the race. But meantime, they're nearly half a minute now ahead of Jarno Trulli. It looks like nothing can stop the McLarens. They have lost the run reliability patch that they went through on earlier in the year and last year. But look at this battle behind them with Jos Verstappen in the arrows being pursued by Jacques Villeneuve. And although things are not moving and changing very much at this point as you look at Mark Janot. Oh, now here is Verstappen again. Let's call them off. Verstappen, Villeneuve, Eddie Irvine, Ricardo Zonta, Mika Salo in the Sauber, and he is in 12th place behind Alexander Wurz and ahead of Heidfeld. And only 3 retirements. Now we are over half distance, but what retirements? Johnny Herbert out of the race, Michael Schumacher out of the race, and Giancarlo Fisichella out as a result of their coming together at the start of the race. Lap 24, in comes Jos Verstappen from that terrific fight for 7th position in the Arrows. He's had to 9th position, he's had to yield it to Ricardo Zonta now, and the orange Arrows mechanics attack the car.
Yes, he was in 7th when he came in. The fact that he's so slow in the pit lane, the other 2 passed him out on the racetrack, so Verstappen was in a pretty solid 7th place, and away he goes. It seems like a relatively straightforward pit stop. And Louise, what can you tell us?
Standing here with Michael Schumacher. Michael, once again you've gone out of the race in a first corner incident. Talk us through it from your perspective.
Yeah, basically quite easy. I was going for turning in for the corner from the outside line to get a nice exit for the long straight to make it a run at Coulthard, and then I was bumped up from the back. What
part do you think that the McLarens played in that incident?
Not very much. I mean, basically Fisichella came from behind and he is the person to watch out for cars in front of him, not to run them over. I mean, there is limits to what you can do and you have to adapt to the circumstances, and he clearly didn't do that good enough.
Bearing in mind the controversy that there's been between yourself and David over start manoeuvres, were you kind of expecting him to pull a move on you like he did?
Listen, I'm out of the race not because of David. I'm out of the race for Fisichella, and that's it, what you can say about it.
Thanks, Michael.
Yeah, I've got to disagree slightly with Michael. I understand what he's saying, but he took the line. He really closed Fisichella out. He went into Fisichella's space, and Fisichella was unable to slow down. It was no better than 50-50 in my view, Murray. I don't know where you're at on that one.
Well, I agree with you. You know, I tend to stick up for Schumacher more than most people, but I'm with you on this occasion, and that's cost him another 10 points to the 30 he had already lost through failing to finish this year. And you're looking now at Rubens Barrichello back with Pedro de la Rosa in the Arrows. He's caught and passed the Arrows once already this year, this race, and he's going to do so again to regain 4th places. But remember, in Austria, De La Rosa lost a certain points position as the result of the breakage of an oil union, which just cost a few pence.
Look, we've got a strange guy walking down the side of the racetrack in a raincoat on the grass, and what on earth is he doing? Crossing the racetrack during the Grand Prix, and clearly either a bit too much beer there or he's hit his head on something, because he's not being sensible at all. I've never seen this before. Have you ever seen it, Mary?
Well, I've seen a lunatic in Brazil just as the race was finishing, rushing out. But that is very bad news indeed.
Safety car, so this will close the pack up. James.
Yeah, safety car, and everybody's reacting quickly. We're going to have everybody making their pit stops in the next few minutes. Ferrari are reacting as well. Trulli's in now. We're expecting who's going to come first from McLaren. This could be very painful for whichever is the second of the 2 McLarens to make their stop, and Ferrari are reacting as well. They're going to bring Barrichello in and fuel him to the end. Amazing turnaround.
Fantastic development this is. That lunatic, whoever he is changing the complexion of the race on lap 26 out of 45. We're not seeing what is happening to him, but there he is. He's got some sort of a Mercedes-Benz slogan on the back of his plastic Mac.
And this is going to cost somebody dearly. 2 McLarens running line astern. One of them's going to have to queue in the pit lane. And it's a question of, will they catch that safety car? 4.25 mile racetrack. Will they actually catch the safety car before they come around to the end of the lap? The Jordan made good use of the situation. And here comes Hakkinen. What's going to happen? Only one of them can be serviced at a time. There's one pit garage per team, one crew of 22 men. Hakkinen comes in. Coulthard surely will have to come in. If he goes around, he's going to catch the safety car and end up at the back of the queue. No, Coulthard has to go around. He's just got to hope and pray he doesn't catch that safety car before he gets round again. He surely will.
Well, they've done what I would have expected. They had to give preference to Hakkinen. He's leading the race. But the question now is, are they going to catch that lunatic who's walking round the course and get him off it? All sorts of things can and will happen as Mika Hakkinen exits the pit lane, and we're on lap 27 now. Remember, Jarno Trulli, who was third, has come in and made his pit stop. He was at the time some 30 seconds behind the McLarens. The safety car is there. Coulthard is behind him.
Coulthard's going to end up last in this race when they restart, and there's Barrichello in again. But Coulthard has now got to do a slow lap behind the safety car, then come in for a stop, so the queue will go, the snake will go past, and Coulthard will end up right on the back of the queue. Disaster for Coulthard.
And Barrichello is out before Frentzen. There is Heinz Harald. Barrichello third on the track, third in the race, exits the pit lane before Heinz Harald Frentzen.
Yeah, they've made a desperate mistake by not allowing Coulthard to queue up and just simply wait to be serviced. Now he's got to come in for his stop and let... And James, what can you say?
Well, I was just about to say, Martin, why didn't he come in and queue up? And I really think that's what Ron Dennis told the mechanics he was going to do. I saw him come shooting off the pit wall and telling the tyre guys, get DC's tyres ready as well, because he's coming in as well. And then he went just on straight past. Maybe it was a communication error, maybe there was a little bit of everybody talking at the same time because there was such chaos down here. But Coulthard has certainly paid a heavy price. I said the guy from McLaren who came in second was going to lose out, but I really didn't expect it to be this much.
And where is Mr. Halfwit now walking round the track? We don't see him, but this is yet another indication of something that I keep on saying, that Formula One and motor racing are not just about the best driver, they're about the best driver allied to the best car, allied to the best team and the best backup. And here comes the safety car towards us with David Coulthard, who's potentially last in the race, and there you can see another additional car, and whoever it is going to be put into that car. He's made his point, whatever it is, and I hope he feels happy about it. I just can't imagine what is going on in his mind, but my goodness, it doesn't half change the race for us. Safety car. Coulthard will have to come in now, or will he stay out?
Well, he can stay out. I'm sure he's got more fuel than
he's coming in. Look,
yes, the mechanics are ready for him, but if the safety car's going in this lap, there's David trying to get himself as much space as possible. Yes, he is coming in, so the safety car's staying on track. Now, Coulthard's got to somehow stop, but he won't be allowed back out of the pit until after the snake have gone past, probably. And disaster for Coulthard.
And Trulli is up into second place ahead of Rubens Barrichello as the McLaren mechanics do the best they possibly can for David Coulthard, who has been cruelly cheated of his position.
Yeah, crucial mistake there by somebody, not allowing Coulthard to come in and queue. I don't know, it may have been him, may have been a communication problem, may have been a decision problem, but look, he's going to end up virtually at the back of the snake, having been in a strong second place. Hakkinen is at the front of the queue. We saw him behind Coulthard before Coulthard had to pit, and there it is now, look. Where is Coulthard in the race, Murray?
Yeah, but look at this, you see, all tight up behind. The race is in effect restarting, as you see. Mika Hakkinen leading, Jarno Trulli second, Rubens Barrichello third, De La Rosa is fourth, Frentzen is fifth, and David Coulthard there in sixth position.
It didn't work out quite as bad as I thought, but bad enough for Coulthard because he's now at the back of that pack and of the front runners of the afternoon. It's flip-flopped him right back there, and the lights are still on the safety car. Strange message here on the computer, look, Murray. Maybe hopefully we'll never see that again. Man on track.
But ding dong, are we going to see a race now? Lap 28, and you can see how close they are. And remember Rubens Barrichello, who's come up from 18th. He's made his pit stop. He's going to have to make another one, and that's the crumpled mess that was Michael Schumacher's car when the race started. Behind it is the crumpled jumbled mess that was Giancarlo Fisichella's car. What an incredible German Grand Prix this is turning out to be. Lap 28, and Mika Häkkinen leads Jarno Trulli. Rubens Barrichello is in third position. De La Rosa is right behind him in the arrows and just ahead of Heinz-Harald Frentzen, and up into seventh position, mysteriously and magnificently, according to the computer in front of me, and I'm waiting for confirmation on the track, is Jenson Button. Well, what about that for a development? Safety car. Häkkinen, Trulli, Barrichello and De La Rosa, Frentzen and Coulthard, Schumacher, Villeneuve, Zonta, Verstappen, Salo, Wurz. Well, the computer cannot lie. It is on this occasion, and Jenson Button has got to come in, and I confirm that there is rain on the way. Whether it's going to get here in time to wet the track before the end of this race, which has nearly half its distance still to go, remains to be seen. And David Coulthard will be well and truly fired up now. And a word from James Allen.
Well, of course, the $10 million question here is, was Coulthard told to stay out, or was it his own decision? What I can tell you is when he pulled away from his pit stop, he made a very dismissive hand gesture with his left hand to the pit wall at McLaren. So that may tell you that he doesn't think whatever the decision they made was the right one.
Yes, and the golden rule is, and the safety car's in, the golden rule is that you only come in when you have clearance to do so. You do not just wander in the pit lane of your own volitions. But nonetheless, at least Coulthard's not too far down the field. He has a chance to overtake and have a go.
Watch Barrichello. You're seeing the snake now, and Barrichello can see the opportunity to get past Trulli, take second place, get up behind Mika Häkkinen, and behind them are De La Rosa and Frentzen. And you can see now Rubens Barrichello closing up and coming outside alongside Jarno Trulli, and is he going through to second position? The answer is no. Trulli holds the inside line. Barrichello fights ahead of De La Rosa and Frentzen. It's nose to tail, snake formation round the circuit. Mika Häkkinen has got a clear track in front of him, and he's making the most of it because he knows he's got to get the hammer down and get clear space between himself and Rubens Barrichello and Jarno Trulli. And Jarno Trulli is undoubtedly holding up Barrichello and De La Rosa and Frentzen as the rest switch back their way through the chicanes down into the 200-mile-an-hour straight on lap 29 out of 45, and Mika Häkkinen eases away a bit.
Zonta getting very close there to his teammate Villeneuve, locking up a wheel, but everybody snatching. And is that Coulthard getting ready to have a go at his first victim? Yes, it is. He's up behind Frentzen, but not close enough to have a go into the stadium. The two BARs are still at it, hammer and tongs. But Häkkinen waltzing away up at the front.
Yeah, and of course David Coulthard is not amongst a lot of rabbits. He's amongst some very, very quick, very talented, extremely experienced Formula One drivers in mighty quick motor cars on a circuit where there are passing places, but not all that many. As Häkkinen goes through now, Trulli, Barrichello, De La Rosa, Frentzen, David Coulthard in sixth position, still in the points. Both the McLarens are in the points, but not as commandingly as they were before that man came out on the track. And hopefully he's on his way to clink now, some recompense. And down to the 200-mile-an-hour straight into the chicane again, and just look at the way Mika Häkkinen is getting the hammer down and stretching away. He's now nearly 3 seconds ahead of Jarno Trulli.
And we've got is that Jenson Button? No, it's Ralf Schumacher. Schumacher is spun. Verstappen had to go right around the outside. Obviously Ralf keeping the engine running up and away, but he will now be effectively last.
And I saw De La Rosa. Look at this, there's Schumacher, Wurz going through. This is absolutely fantastic. Formula One, wheel to wheel, nose to tail racing. So, Trulli Barrichello can't get past the Jordan yet. De La Rosa is right past the Ferrari. There goes Jacques Villeneuve. Then there's a gap. This is Ralf Schumacher, followed by Alexander Wurz. And
big accident.
And there's and the cars whiz through the frame. And I didn't spot which ones they were. 2 wheels off. That's a nasty one.
That could be another pace car, could be another safety car situation with so much debris. Safety car is standing by, I see, but
Diniz.
But it's a Prost that's in the wall. I don't know which one.
Well, Pedro Diniz was with a Lacey.
Yeah, so Lacey in the wall. He's out of the car, look, so he's okay. Diniz, I think, should be okay, probably just talking on the radio.
Hopefully.
And safety car has picked up Hakkinen.
And Hakkinen will be caught by Jarno Trulli. He has been. Jarno Trulli will be caught by Rubens Barrichello. He has been. Rubens Barrichello will be caught by De La Rosa. He has been. And behind them, Frentzen and Coulthard and Jacques Villeneuve in the BAR is now in 7th position ahead of his teammate Ricardo Zonta, with Alex Wurz in 9th position and Mika Salo in 10th place. And let's have a look. This is a replay.
Yes, let's see. I think, look, Diniz cuts in, look, and just drives into the side of a Lacey. That's why Lacey was upset. They were side by side. Diniz went to take line with a Lacey completely in the way. And there it is again. Surely Pedro knew he was there.
Well, Louise Goodman was talking to a Lacey earlier today, and she said, do you want rain in this race? He said, I want thunderbolts and satellites, anything to help me. That's his 8th retirement from 11 races in the Prost team, which he had hoped to do well in. His head is very well forward there.
Yeah, that's a big crash, a very big crash. It's well over 200 miles an hour, and I don't think they'd quite made it to the braking zone as Diniz pulled over to take his line and just popped Lacey's car up in the air, which suggests they were little more than side by side. I think Diniz was slightly ahead, but they were still fundamentally side by side, and a Lacey just smashing into the barriers, and we know he's okay, we know he's walked away, but so no injuries to the drivers, but a big and expensive accident.
So that's Diniz out of the race, a Lacey out of the race, Herbert, Schumacher and Fisichella as the marshals pick up the debris. We're on lap 31 out of 45. Safety car is out for the 2nd time.
Yes, the tyre tether's still not managing to keep those wheels on board the cars, but that was a violent accident. They take about 5 tons of energy. Next year they're going to have 2 of those tethers on in an attempt to keep these tyres on. And this will be a replay, I think. Yes, I think it was that was Ralf, we know from earlier on. He was hit from behind by what I would assume to be Zonta. Verstappen just had to go around he wasn't part of the accident, he had to go around and avoid it. It was a BAR that ran into the back of Ralf.
Yeah, and Ralf is back on the track now. You've seen him dashing around, but he's trying to catch up with the end of the snake behind the safety car. He's been into the pits for the 2nd time, presumably for a replacement nose, as we look across the stadium at the safety car.
Safety car's in this lap, in at the end of this lap, so 2 more corners for the safety car. Hakkinen will hold them back, then try and give himself a run through the last corner as they clear away the wreckage of that Prost. And Hakkinen is going for it already. Look, he's already built a gap. He caught Trulli sleeping there a bit.
Yeah, Hakkinen, who had such a terrible German Grand Prix last year, when first of all his fuel filler stuck, and then secondly he had a delaminated tyre. But he's well in command, and off goes, that's Alexander Wurz. There's been another contact. Wurz from down in the midfield goes off in the Benetton, and that's the 2nd Benetton, of course. Looks to me as though he stalled the engine. He has, he puts his visor up, and he's on the track. Hopefully the marshal, and De La Rosa is having a go at Rubens Barrichello for 3rd position again. My goodness, I mean, people from Leafield and the Cotswolds area, which is where Tom Walkinshaw has got his racing empire, must be keeping their fingers crossed, because it's a magnificent race for the Arrows. And De La Rosa, who did so well in Austria, is doing even better here in Germany, thanks to the superlative speed of the car. It really is terrific. And Wurz is out of the car, running across the track, out of the race, another retirement.
And look, he had contact down the field with what must be It's the Sauber of Salo, so contact early on. I don't quite know how they managed to run into each other that early. I think his car is still on the start-finish line. Safety car standing by again, and it's not surprising. It's on the racing line into turn 1, but no safety car at the moment, but it is standing by, and they're now just clearing Wirtz's car across the grass as the snake comes into the stadium. I think they'll get it out of the way just in time, Murray.
Well, you may remember I was talking to Charlie Whiting before this programme began, the race director, and we were talking at one point about the safety car. This is the sort of decision he has to make, and he always makes the right one. So, safety car clear, Häkkinen leads, lap 33, 45 lap race. It's looking very good for Mika Häkkinen, because Rubens Barrichello is the only bloke to me who can challenge him, and he's still caught up behind Jarno Trulli. Incidentally, both the Jordans are in the top 6 and the umbrellas are going up in this incredible race where we've had collisions, where we've had a lunatic walking around the course, we've had the safety car out. It looked as though the weather was going to be good all through the race. It looks as though now it is not going to be good all through the race, and we face a situation where they could be coming in to change from dry weather tyres to rain tyres, and then anything can happen at Hockenheim.
Yes, they're a long way from home too. I don't know how hard it's raining or where in fact those people are putting their coats on, but the track looks relatively dry at the moment, doesn't it? But they're a good 2 miles from home. But I'd be surprised if they pit at the end of this lap. The Ferrari mechanics are out and ready. It's raining, but it's not raining hard enough for wet. But as I've said again, it's 4¼ miles, the second longest track of the year, Murray. You can't afford to be out in the trees there on the wrong tyres if there's a downpour.
Well, yesterday's Formula 3000 race was decided by tyres, because Thomas Scheckter, world champion Jody Schecter's son, in his only his second Formula 3000 race, was brilliantly leading it, and his teammate, the Czechoslovakian Thomas Enger, came in and changed from look at the rain, look at the rain, look at the rain, and we can hear thunder here. It's going to be a big one at Hockenheim. It's going to be a big one. And to finish what I was saying earlier on, Thomas Enger came in and changed from wet weather tyres to dry weather tyres, and he was lapping 7 seconds a lap faster than the people who'd got ahead of him, and he caught them all and he passed them all and he won the race. The same thing could happen here. The team managers will be looking up into the skies, trying to make a decision about when they can best bring their men in. Look at the spots of rain on our television camera lens as in comes Nick Heidfeld in the Prost, and you can see that Mika Häkkinen has not got all that much of a lead. Out goes the red and yellow flag, which means trouble on the track in the form of some kind of moisture, and it's not too difficult to guess what that is.
And Coulthard has passed Frentzen, so Coulthard through up into 5th place. He's got to be careful here he doesn't get too brave. Remember, he lost his wing here last year, making a rash move on Salo, who was driving the Ferrari at the time, and cost himself a lot of points. He can't afford that double shuffle in the pit stop. Cost Coulthard dearly today, and he can't afford to trip over somebody. Here's a replay down into the first chicane again. Frentzen there going to the middle of the track, defending his line well there, Frentzen, but David saying, so what, if you do that, I'm going down the outside, I'll brake even later than you. And a good clean move there from Coulthard. That'll give him a lot of confidence to pass the rest of them. And the oil, well, they call the oil flags, but as you say, it means slippery track ahead, and Häkkinen still up front by some 2.1 seconds from Trulli. Barrichello, the Ferrari mechanics. It's raining hard here now, Murray. They're going to have to think about wet tyres, certainly quite soon, if it carries on raining like this.
Don't leave the room, it's going to be terrific from now on. Lap 34, 11 laps to go. Rain on the circuit at Hockenheim, and it's all potentially going to change.
Big blown engine for
it's Genet.
Yeah. So hopefully he hasn't left a lot of oil on the track. That'll sort them out. A nice emulsion of oil and water. Eddie Irvine recovering. He's pointing at the sky, but you can't see that when you're doing 180 miles an hour driving past the start-finish line. And still the BAR.
Villeneuve, that's Villeneuve and Zonta. Zonta has hit Jack Villeneuve, who pirouettes through 360 degrees, time and time again, brilliantly keeps the engine running and accelerates away, just as Ralf Schumacher in 12th position gets past him, and Eddie Irvine has done a 180 as well. And look at this, they're going to come pouring into the pits now.
Yes, and then once again Coulthard's going to be at the back of the queue for McLaren. They're all, anybody with two cars running is going to have a queue of cars sitting at the pit lane. They've got to come in at the end of this lap. It's now wet enough here in the stadium, I'm sure. It just depends how wet it is down the far end, some 2 odd miles. Doesn't look too bad, does it? Really doesn't look too bad down there, but they're in for quite a shock when they get down the end of the next straight. It's raining hard here at the stadium. As you see a replay of Genet's Minardi blowing up. It's an oil fire shortly afterwards, which clearly means that valves have had a chat with the pistons and the oil is getting inside the cylinder. And then the replay again of Eddie Irvine spinning off. But what are they going to...
And here's Villeneuve and Zonta. This is a replay. Zonta clips the right rear wheel of his teammate's VAR. Remember I said 2 weeks ago in Austria, the worst thing that can happen is for two teammates to hit each other. Lacey and Heidfeld did it in Austria for Prost, and now Villeneuve and Zonta have done it in Germany for VAR.
Zonta and Villeneuve, and Hakkinen comes in. The two VARs have been threatening to run into each other for some laps now, and finally they achieved it as Hakkinen comes in early. They're
Martin,
all coming in.
Barrichello's going on. Barrichello is going on. Rubens Barrichello carries on and takes the lead in the German Grand Prix, but it's a bit of a false lead because he will have to, unless he's taking a tremendous gamble, which he obviously is, that things will improve and that he can stay on his dry weather tyres. We're on lap 36 out of 45 now. Mika Hakkinen is rejoining the race on rain tyres, on wet weather tyres, followed by Trulli and followed by De La Rosa.
Wets are the way to go, surely, although it's still quite dry down the far, and this is so confusing for the drivers, and they've got to be careful. They lose a lot of tyre temperature through going slowly on the damp parts and pressure, but now they can build it back up again. And well, has Hakkinen gone slightly too early? For sure they're going to have to go on to wet soon. It's raining quite hard down there. There's now plumes of water coming out of behind the cars as they go down the pit straight, but look, bone dry at the Ost curve.
And the Ferrari mechanics have got a set of wet weather tyres ready for Rubens Barrichello, and David Coulthard is really flying as well. Now here comes Barrichello. David Coulthard is up into second place in the race, followed by Heinz-Harald Frentzen, followed by Ricardo Zonta, in the VAR. Well, my goodness, I said this race was going to be blown wide open, and it has been. And the question now is it going to stop raining, in which case Barrichello may be able to stay out on dry weather tyres, or is it going to get worse, in which case Mika Hakkinen there will be laughing again. And he, at the present moment, has got the Jordan right behind him. Look at this. They're into the stadium and out of it, and Barrichello is going to come through in the lead.
Yes, Frentzen is more comfortable at the moment. His car's working better than Coulthard's. He's putting him under pressure on the damp stuff. Coulthard finding a bit of traction. You cannot believe how easy it is to swap ends, just put a millimetre too much throttle, and Barrichello goes again, and Coulthard goes again. They're saying, OK, I'm happy with the grip at the far end, and I'll put up with the slippery stuff at this end. We'll go for another lap, and there's the tyre blankets remaining on Barrichello's tyres as he leads the German Grand Prix.
Lap 37, you're looking at Rubens Barrichello, followed by David Coulthard. We're coming back, but we're going for a break. Wow, lap 37 out of 45 at the Hockenheim ring, Germany, and the Ferrari mechanics are jostling with tyres, and Rubens Barrichello is having none of it. He's staying out. It's not his decision, of course. He takes orders, but he can tell them on the radio what it's like at other parts of the circuit, and you can see that it's good up at the Ost curve. That's the highest part, the top part of the course. There is Coulthard, and Frentzen in third position, and behind Frentzen is 7 seconds, and it is Zonta in the background. In 5th position, it's Mika Häkkinen. In 6th place, Ralf Schumacher.
Stop and go for Jarno Trulli. I don't know what he's done wrong, but maybe speeding in the pit lane from the earlier stop. But 10-second stop and go penalty for Trulli, who's currently in 7th place.
As Barrichello comes down, and Frentzen has a go at David Coulthard. He dodges out from behind the back of the McLaren, but that's probably as much as anything else to enable him to see properly, because as I was saying earlier on, in the forest sectors of the circuit, the spray stays up in the air, visibility is very difficult indeed. There is Frentzen, and that's Jarno Trulli, Jarno Trulli, who's coming in for this stop-go penalty. And here are Coulthard and Frentzen, and it's getting much, much worse at the start. And still, Barrichello stays out. 38 laps completed. 45-lap race. And Coulthard and Frentzen are catching them.
This is brilliant driving from all of these drivers at the front on slick with rooster tails and slicks on. They're still managing to keep these cars pointing in the right direction.
So, Coulthard 2nd, Frentzen 3rd. In comes Jarno Trulli for his 10-second penalty. Lap 38 out of 45. Jarno Trulli has had a 10-second stop-go penalty, presumably for speeding in the pit lane. He was in 7th place out of the points, but up front it's magic.
Yes.
There is Rubens Barrichello still leading.
And they're all still on slicks at the front end here. Zonta is under investigation by the stewards, presumably for running into Villeneuve. We wait to see on that. I just saw Coulthard going straight over the chicane at the first chicane, taking the shortcut. He may get a penalty for that. He did not gain, he did not overtake anybody, but I don't think he saved the position either. But Coulthard struggling a little bit with these conditions. Frentzen all over him, and Barrichello staying out front now, and look how wet it is. Rooster tails behind the cars. Remember, they are on slick tyres, and Zonta is staying with them, and Coulthard really struggles now when he gets to the stadium area. Frentzen all over him once again.
Frentzen, attack! That's Coulthard's McLaren in front of him.
But look now, Häkkinen 1:55 on wets. Coulthard runs wide. Coulthard runs very wide, and Frentzen doing well. He's got to come in this time, David. And Frentzen, they should be in this lap. They're now slower than Häkkinen on wets.
Zonta goes off.
Zonta in the wall, as you can see. They should be in this lap, and Coulthard in. Coulthard is in the pits.
But Frentzen goes through and takes 2nd position. He's taking a tremendous gamble. So Frentzen goes up into 2nd position. Here are the Ferrari mechanics taking 2nd place. He was David Coulthard in for wets, but he's losing places. There are going to be 6 laps left at the end of this race, and it's going to be a quite incredible situation as Mika Häkkinen attacks in the McLaren.
So good stop there for Coulthard, 7.6 seconds. I think Frentzen made a mistake somewhere, because Häkkinen has now taken him for what will be 2nd place. Coulthard joining the track quite late though, so Coulthard coming out with Ralf Schumacher. That's 9th place for David Coulthard. Just won't work out for him today.
Now Mika Häkkinen is lapping 1.2 seconds on wet weather tyres, faster than Rubens Barrichello on dry weather tyres, and Barrichello is on lap 39 out of 45.
But look, Frentzen's got back past Häkkinen again, so Häkkinen obviously losing some grip somewhere. Remember, he's on wet tyres on this dry part of the racetrack, and incredible, Häkkinen can't find any traction. And then when they get to, now did Frentzen make a mistake? Yes, he did. Look, he went across the chicane, so he's yielded to Häkkinen. That's how Häkkinen got in front of him, and then later on Frentzen retakes Häkkinen.
Yeah, I think it was a very sensible move of Frentzen's to let Häkkinen pass, because he would have had to come in for a stop-go penalty at least for having benefited from going off. But here is a man who is not going off at the present moment. Rubens Barrichello. Is he going to win his first Grand Prix? He's had 2nd places for Jordan. He's had 2nd places for Ferrari. He's never won a Grand Prix, and this is Rubens Barrichello's 123rd third race. He could be in the running as winner because he is not being caught by David Coulthard or Frentzen.
Now look, Hakkinen has just taken Frentzen and then pulled away about 7 or 8 seconds when they get into the wet stadium zone. So it's a complete yo-yo around the track.
Now let me just give you the positions. Lap 40, Barrichello is leading Hakkinen by 10 seconds. David Coulthard is third and Heinz-Harald Frentzen is fourth. Mika Salo is fifth and Jenson Button is in sixth position.
And Frentzen is pulling out of the race. Frentzen on the start-finish line here with some problems, so Frentzen is out of the race. We're going to take a short break, be back very quickly.
Well, I don't know what the problem is, but Jordans have been so unreliable this year. This is the 12th retirement this year of one or other of the Jordans in the 11th race of the year. But look at Rubens Barrichello on lap 40. He's 10 seconds ahead of Mika Hakkinen, and the difference in times between them is now about 0.8 of a second a lap if they go on the way they are going at the present moment. There is Mika Hakkinen, who led the race for so long. That is Heinz-Harald Frentzen, who has just retired from it in the Jordan, and that means up into third place has come Mika Salo in the Sauber. Now it's a heck of a long time since a Sauber driver was on the podium in one of the top 3 places. It could be Finland's Mika Salo who is there. Fourth is David Coulthard. Fifth is Jenson Button, who started 22nd and last after the problem he had at the beginning of the race. And in sixth position is Pedro de la Rosa in the Arrows, who was third and fourth for so long. And now, this is the crucial point. Here is Barrichello, still I remind you, on dry weather tyres, and he's now on lap 42 out of 45. He was 10 seconds ahead of Mika Hakkinen. Where is the flying Finn as he signs himself? And that is an Arrows out of the race. It's Jos Verstappen. Jos Verstappen was in 8th position. He's not going to finish this race. Wow, my goodness, what a German Grand Prix. So watch Rubens Barrichello in this copybook drive as Eddie Jordan looking extremely fed up after the retirement of their Heinz-Harald Frentzen. Lap 42 out of 45. I can hardly contain myself. You're watching Rubens Barrichello, who is staying ahead on dry weather tyres of Mika Hakkinen on wet weather tyres. The gap is 10 seconds, and we have just seen Heinz-Harald Frentzen retire from the race. We've seen Jos Verstappen pull out from 7th position. The orders at the moment: Barrichello leads Hakkinen by 10 seconds. Coulthard is third.
Roughly 10 seconds ahead of Hakkinen. Hakkinen on the wet tyres cannot find any grip through the 2 chicanes. Frentzen dropped out of the race while third, so a technical problem for him. Somehow Barrichello is keeping that Ferrari pointing in the right direction on a wet track. Absolutely brilliant driving from Barrichello, no doubt about it. The lead is down to 9.5 seconds now. Hakkinen cannot make the difference when he's got those wet tyres on.
Who would ever have thought this when Michael Schumacher and Fisichella collided at the beginning of the race, and the 2 McLarens streaked away until that very strange chap started wandering about the circuit, and out came the safety car. And as a result of that and all sorts of other things in this quite incredible Hockenheim German Grand Prix, you're looking at Rubens Barrichello on lap 42 out of 45, leading Mika Hakkinen and maintaining a lead of just about 10 seconds, and seemingly comfortable, notwithstanding the fact that part of this circuit is dry, part of the circuit is wet. David Coulthard is in third position, and McLaren are looking good for 11 World Championship points, which is going to make them very good indeed and take them ahead of Ferrari in the Constructors' Championship.
Yes, Coulthard has passed Salo somewhere out of sight of the TV cameras. Jenson Button is in 5th place with the current 2 World Championship points in his pocket. If he can get to the end of the race, De La Rosa finishing out the top 6. But once again, Hakkinen is 7 or 8 tenths up on this lap in the first section. He'll lose in the second section. He is ever so slowly catching Rubens Barrichello, but it's very much a tale of a track of two parts.
Yeah, if he's catching him at half a second a lap, it's about all that he is doing, and the gap is still over 9 seconds, so that's 18 laps, and there's only 4 laps left in the race, only 3 laps left very shortly, because here comes Rubens Barrichello to complete his 42nd lap, start his 43rd, P2, 3 laps to go. That is the sign that is going to be held out to Mika Hakkinen.
Yes, and Barrichello still keeping it pointing in the right direction. Remember, he started this race in 18th position. Michael Schumacher tripped up with Fisichella into the first corner of the first lap. They were out immediately. Johnny Herbert broke down early on. Then there were a series of incidents in the midfield. Cars tripping over. They were running very close from 5th through to 19th. A series of fairly big accidents, including Jean Alesi, one of them. Then the rain started coming down, and just before that we had a strange guy wandering around the racetrack. They had to bring out the safety car, closed up the pack. Coulthard lost out because he had to wait another lap with only 1 pit facility per team, and they put him back down the field. He's back up now into 3rd place. Hakkinen driving brilliantly until he pitted too early for his wets. Barrichello has stayed out on those slick tyres. I suspect right now the right tyre to be on is the wet tyre, but of course Barrichello didn't have to make that pit stop. It's given him track position and certainly all the ammunition he needs to take his first Grand Prix win, not only for Ferrari but for himself.
Yeah, and you just saw Mika Hakkinen come flying round the corner, but if Rubens Barrichello does win this race, it will be richly deserved. Not only has he fought his way up from 18th to the lead, but he genuinely is one of the nicest people in Grand Prix racing, and he's taken a bit of flack this year because people didn't expected him to go better against Michael Schumacher than he has done. But there is David Coulthard in 3rd position. Bearing down on him is Mika Salo on the left, who has now got Jenson Button ahead of him. So Jenson Button is up into 4th place, and he's had 2 5th places this year. The young Englishman, he's only 20 years old in his first season of Grand Prix racing, and is potentially going to be replaced by Juan Pablo Montoya in the Williams team next year. He's driving an absolute storm of a race. He is a natural. This is the first time he's driven at Hockenheim. He's not used to driving in wet weather, and just look at the way he's going. He's pulling away from Mika Salo, who is in 5th position, and Pedro de la Rosa in the Arrows, who is in 6th place. And Rubens Barrichello is now on his penultimate lap, his last lap but one.
Yes, and remember, Jenson's really kept his head well this afternoon. He had a terrible first half of the race. He started plumb last, having stalled on the dummy grid, was running last but one, but now when the chips are down and everybody's having problems, he's really cutting the mustard up there in 4th place, just 5 seconds behind Coulthard.
Ride with Rubens, it's a joy, and he's now 12 seconds ahead of and pulling away from Mika Hakkinen on lap 44 out of 45. And I have to say it again, in Formula One, anything can happen, and it usually does, and everything has happened in this quite amazing motor race. Rubens Barrichello turns through the centre curve. He's coming down now at nearly 200 miles an hour to turn 11 out of 15 on his 44th lap out of 45, with a comfortable lead over that man, Mika Hakkinen, double world champion. And there behind Mika Hakkinen, you can see
It's Coulthard.
I apologise. I was going to say, what's Jenson Button doing there? There is Jenson Button with Salo and De La Rosa, and behind De La Rosa is Schumacher.
Yeah, Button 5.1 seconds behind last time over the start-finish line, and they're about even Stevens in the first section, so I don't think Button's got enough laps left to do anything about Coulthard. They're running similar pace, and it's now Hakkinen beginning to fade away. Those wets getting too hot. Barrichello can hack it on the wet track with the slicks, just squeezing that throttle oh so gently as he now heads into his final lap, taking the go-kart line around the outside, using all the old bits of tyre and debris to find that extra grip that you have in these slimy conditions, and the Ferrari mechanics running to the pit wall, Murray.
If you believe in Ferrari, get down and pray, because Rubens Barrichello is on his last lap in what looks like being a magnificent first ever and absolutely brilliant victory. The gap between himself and Mika Hakkinen has been reduced marginally, but is still over 11 seconds as you watch the Finn coming home for what looks like a certain 6 World Championship points, which could have been 10.
Yes, talk about damage limitation. Certainly with Michael Schumacher out the first corner, this is the best Ferrari could have hoped for, is a virtuoso performance from Barrichello, and he really has given it to them, hasn't he? Those overtaking manoeuvres, albeit with a lighter car in the first part of the race, were sensational, and he had the confidence to stay out on the racetrack. There's Michael Schumacher watching the action, and the fastest man on the track by miles is actually Jenson Button, who just took 2.5 seconds out of Coulthard on the last lap, and will be giving him a real hurry up to the line for that final podium place.
And if I'm right with my mental arithmetic, amazingly, Michael Schumacher is still going to be leading the World Championship at the end of this race. Rubens Barrichello is into the stadium for the 45th and last time. He turns into the slow turn. Superb! And look at the reception he gets. Michael Schumacher and Corinna, his wife, are almost as pleased for Schumacher, for Barrichello, as he would have been for himself. Mika Hakkinen finishes in second position. David Coulthard there is in third position. Jenson Button, look at him closing up on the McLaren, finishes higher in a Grand Prix than he's finished before. 2 fifth places and now a 4th. And Mika Salo is 5th with Pedro de la Rosa in 6th position. Both the Williams cars are in the top 7 because Ralf Schumacher is in 7th place. And Jean Todt, the boss of Ferrari, with Ross Brawn and the euphoric Ferrari team, can hardly believe their luck, but it was deserved.
Well, Rubens Barrichello's waited a long time for that first win, but what shine, a man wandering over the track, safety cars, he kept his head, and then when he needed some confidence to take that first win, he had it splashing around, rooster tails coming out of the back of the car on slicks as he passed his pit each time, and he stuck with it. James.
Ross Brawn, you're actually crying today. What an extraordinary motor race, and what's Rubens done for you today?
Well, it was his decision to stay out. We talked about it over the radio and we realised it was worth a chance, and he said, no, let me go, let's try it. And it was just fantastic. There was a few points when it was tough, but then when we saw how much Hakkinen was struggling in T2, we realised we could do it. It's just a matter of not falling off.
And he's kept Michael in the championship, of course.
Yeah, I guess so, yes. Yeah, I wasn't thinking of that, but it was fantastic.
On a serious note though, Ross, what about the nutter that walked on the track? That must never be allowed to happen again, must it?
Yeah, I mean, it's obviously very, very dangerous. I mean, the trouble is the public do have access, particularly a place like this, because it's in the forest. So, no, that must never be allowed to happen if we can prevent it.
Just sum up in a few words for us the skill of Rubens Barrichello, what he achieved out there today.
Well, he had everything. I mean, he had patience, so he worked his way up through the grid. We took a 2-stop because we thought it was worth a chance. And he called the decision for tyres at the end, to stay out and give it a go. And he just drove a perfect race.
A magnificent turnaround. Well done, Ross.
Superstar Rubino, Rubens Barrichello, look at the joy on his face. And in this incredible race, Michael Schumacher, who has not scored points for the last 3 races, still leads the championship, and Coulthard and Hakkinen are tying with each other, 2 points behind Michael Schumacher. 56 points for Schumacher, 54 points for for Coulthard and Hakkinen, and Rubens Barrichello is only 10 points now behind Michael Schumacher. This has had it all.
Well, in the next door commentary box are the Brazilian commentators, and they are absolutely, as you can imagine, ecstatic. That must be the first Brazilian driver, Brazilian win since Senna won back in '93 for McLaren.
Yeah, that's right. And Luciano Berti, the Jaguar driver, who substituted for Eddie Irvine so superbly in Austria, is standing with just the width of the glass between us, and is he a happy boy, because he's a great friend of Rubens Barrichello's and lived until recently in the same house with the young Brazilian.
Well, Michael will be very pleased. That certainly saved a part of his day at least, and Rubens Barrichello waited 123 races for this win, so well done to him. I can't think of anybody who will not be happy about that in the Formula One paddock.
No, as I said earlier on, he really is a charming person. You don't hear a hard word about him from anyone.
With the possible exception of some McLaren people, of course.
Well, absolutely, but they won't be unpleasant words, because he richly deserved that victory. And to recap, Rubens Barrichello wins the 11th race in this superb World Championship Series of the year 2000 by 7.4 seconds from Mika Hakkinen. He beat him fair and square. You heard Ross Brawn saying that Rubens made the decision about whether he would stay on dry weather tyres or come in for wet weather tyres. He made it right. He beat Hakkinen, but McLaren are now leading the Constructors' World Championship, which is some recompense, as a delighted Michael Schumacher joins a euphoric Rubens Barrichello, who I do believe is in tears.
Not strictly legal, you're not allowed to be in the Parc Fermé, but I don't think anybody will mind too much from Michael going in there and enjoying that moment. Coulthard and Barrichello used to fight hammer and nail in the British Formula 3 Championship. Of course, Barrichello just taking it from Coulthard, and now this is Barrichello's day.
Lovely bit of sportsmanship from Mika Hakkinen and David Coulthard. And one has to say that it might well have been a very different result if that nutter had not taken it in his mind to go wandering about the track. But you know, it was the same for everyone, and Rubens Barrichello saw his chances and he took it. This young man who comes from Sao Paulo, cut his teeth on kart racing. He lives just a few hundred yards from the Interlagos circuit, where he used to watch his heroes as a boy, little realising that he would become as good as them. And he joins the greats. Not many people have won a Grand Prix race, and our own James Allen is talking to Michael Schumacher to get his reaction. But let's spare a word too for Jenson Button, because whilst Rubens Barrichello came up from 18th to win the race, the best performance of the day, Jenson Button cut him very close indeed. He started 22nd and last. There he is on the right of your pictures now, standing on the scales, and he finishes in 4th position for 3 World Championship points. Jenson Button 4th, Mika Salo, good for Sauber. They've got 2 World Championship points. Great for Arrows, because they had only got 1 World Championship point before today. 3 World Championship points, I apologise. So Arrows have had a great race too. And in the Constructors' Championship, Ferrari actually still lead it, to my surprise, by 4 points. They're on 102 points, Ferrari, and McLaren, notwithstanding the 2nd and 3rd place that Hakkinen and Coulthard had, are 4 points behind them. And really, as it has been for the whole year, this Constructors' Championship is just between 2 teams, Ferrari and McLaren, because Williams in 3rd place, and that's as a result of Button's 4th position, they're holding it, are no less than 80 World Championship points behind Ferrari.
Yes, you may be surprised, because McLaren lost 10 points this week, Murray, didn't they, from the security seal from Hakkenen's car in the Austrian Grand Prix, as Rubino enjoys his moment of glory, and so he should. But I feel a bit sorry for Jordan today. Truly was running so well for so long, up there in 3rd place. Then he got a stop and go penalty. Frentzen then took up the baton and his car failed for some reason. So Jordan, they're now 6th in the World Championship and going away with no points when they actually put in a very, very strong performance. Coulthard's 3rd place, that'll be quite bittersweet for him. It'll be interesting to see what he's got to say about that pit stop early on when the safety car came out with the guy wandering around the racetrack. And then, of course, he elected to stay out on slicks, as did Barrichello, but then came in for the wets. His car not working as well as the Ferrari for whatever reason in the wet conditions. Barrichello really just peerless in those tricky conditions.
Yeah,
I've never seen a situation that's so cut and dried, excuse the pun, where one part of the circuit is absolutely wet and the other side stays bone dry all through the duration.
Yeah, I'm wondering what the FIA, the governing body of motorsport, are going to say to Hockenheim now about the chap wandering around the circuit. This track is some 4.3 miles long, and when you're out in the forest, I don't see, to be fair to Hockenheim, that it's possible to police it and stop some lunatic climbing over the barriers. But here's a man who's climbed right to the top. Yes, thank you. He is in tears, and he does deserve to be where he is, waving the flag of Brazil, remembering his own great hero, Ayrton Senna. Let it all out, Rubino. Feel proud. Feel proud. You have every right to. And Mika Häkkinen and David Coulthard, who've been there many times, hear the Italian national anthem for Ferrari. I thought I'd seen it all. I hadn't seen the combination of circumstances that we've had here at Hockenheim today, which have given us a truly memorable race, which has resulted in the World Championship becoming even closer than it was before. And we've still got the Hungarian, the Belgian, the Italian, the American, the Japanese and the Malaysian Grand Prix to look forward to and to savour in this wonderful year of Formula One, which just gets better and better all the time. So Rubens Barrichello gets his trophy from Erwin Teufel, who's the Chief Minister of Baden-Württemberg, and Rolf Oberwerder gives Mika Häkkinen his, and David Coulthard gets his trophy. And of course, the Constructors' Trophy goes to Ferrari. And it's yet another victory for the Maranello team, unexpectedly after what happened to Michael Schumacher at the very beginning of the race, thanks to the skill, the determination and the racecraft, the brilliant racecraft of Rubens Barrichello, who celebrates his first win of the season and ever in his career, very fittingly.